All right guys, so we are at Sweetwater about to make the most expensive pedal board ever. Kind of a follow-up to the video that me and Rhett did last year with all the fuzz pedals. I'm like, dude, let's make an expensive pedal board. So we are about to get nerdy.
Let's get the power supply for the H90 as well.
Okay. I've never even heard of it. Oh.
I just put that.
Okay, so here's what's going on. We are taking some of the essential food groups of guitar effects pedals, but we want to find the most expensive version of each one, and the question we're asking is it necessarily the best, or do we have recommendations for ones that we might think would be better and might not cost as much? So all this stuff is linked down below. Thank you to Sweetwater for letting us do this, putting on GearFest, and thank you of course to my buddy Rhett, who I'll link down below. And yo, let's get back to the video.
Yeah. Just playing some jazz. So last year we did mega fuzz shootout video. And I had one question for Rhett. Do you want to make the most expensive pedal board?
Yes.
He said yes.
And we did it.
And here we are.
How much is this worth?
So right around 30, I mean, we're not even talking about the actual board and
or the power supplies
or cables. I mean, about $3,500 in at this point. So
we've got fuzz drive, kind of everything.
Yeah, I mean, we could probably just have an H9.
H90, yeah, we could probably do that. Delay / reverb, tape echo, and then reverb.
Yeah. So we've got like the main food groups here.
Yeah.
You know, and this is kind of like the most expensive version of each one that was available.
Right.
At this time. So I had not heard of this wah.
I don't know that wah at all.
I don't either. So I'll be curious to hear that. The Game Changer plasma coil. Have you played that one?
I have. This is the third man version, so the Jack White version.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure about that.
Yeah, and so I'm not exactly sure what the difference is between the two. Generally, when the third man does a collab with like Copper Sound with the Telegraph and this, there's always some kind of like quirky twist behind
to it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that'll be cool to hear. Revival Drive, of course.
Yep, hard to beat.
Yep, kind of a new staple. They do make a bigger version that just wasn't available right now, but it's still, you know, killer pedal. Of course, H90, which neither one of us had used.
No, and I was just digging through it, and there's a lot.
Have you used the Empress?
I have one of those.
Oh, do you?
It's
okay.
really, really great. I use it a lot. I actually like to mix with it. I will patch it into my like Pro Tools rig.
Oh, really?
And use it as like an outboard effect.
Oh,
because a lot of the algorithms that are in it are not found in your typical like reverb pedal.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I was for sure. I'm like, it's gonna be the Big Sky, and then Empress was like $20 more. I'm like, perfect.
and then the 202. It's I have one of those as well. It's phenomenal, and I have a real Space Echo at home that I love.
I was gonna ask you when we were setting up. I go, don't you have a Space Echo?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
But I would never tour with it. I'd never like take it out on a gig because they're somewhat fragile. They're not that bad. Like you can travel with them, but you have to be really careful. Whereas this does the thing. It does the Space Echo thing. And the thing that I really like that they got right with this is the preamp. Because one of the coolest things to do with a Space Echo is not even really use the reverb or delay, which is great, but you can actually just use it as a preamp in front of your amp and hit the front of the amp harder. And it's a cool thing that they got right in the pedal.
Like I said, we've got all these pedals here, and I was going to ask you, because I've never actually set up a pedal board myself, what the order of the pedals?
Yeah, so we've got, this is sort of the general rule.
I know it's controversial.
I don't know if it's controversial. I just would say, like, don't take this as gospel. I would say experiment and find what works best for you. But generally speaking, things like wah, you want first in the chain because
Right.
you ideally want it to have access to the widest frequency range possible. And depending on the wah and depending on what you might be using, it may or may not like to see buffered input.
Right.
Same thing with fuzz. Fuzz generally goes first. Now, I don't typically run a wah on my board. So for me, I always put fuzzes first. Some fuzzes, this is why, again, these are general rules, not like hard and fast rules, because some fuzzes are fine if you put a buffered input in front of it, but some fuzzes, like vintage fuzz faces, for example, do
Right.
not like buffers in front of them. So
Okay.
generally you would put your fuzzes first, and then if we were running any kind of compression circuit, you might would put that after your fuzz. But so wah, fuzz, our drive
Okay.
here. And then the H90, like I said, it kind of does everything, but for this demonstration, we're basically using it as our modulation.
Yeah.
So that's going to go generally after our drives. And then reverb and delay. The commonly accepted path is to go delay into reverb,
Okay.
which is what we've run here.
Ask. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're going space echo into the Empress. But for years, I ran it the other way around. I ran my delay last, and it's cool.
Yeah.
It just depends on like what you want, because if you go delay into reverb and you're running both, your delay repeats are going to get modulated by the reverb,
Yeah.
which has a sound. But if you flip it, then your reverb is going to get modulated by the delay repeats.
Yeah. And then we should mention we're running into the Princeton.
No, we're running into the
The Z-Rec.
yeah, running into the
Z-Rec.
Z-Rec.
And we're just going straight in.
Yeah,
Like,
it's here's my clean tone. I forgot it was in drop D. That's actually kind of nice. That's a nice chord. So pretty clean. Little bit of if I like really dig in, there's a little bit of saturation there. I wouldn't quite call that edge of breakup, but
That's pretty clean.
Yeah.
What's funny is I've never thought of playing a C chord with the F in the bass like that.
well, yeah, like
'Cause you're in
in
D.
standard, yeah, exactly. It's like in standard that would be just a inverted C chord, but
Yeah.
the F in the bass.
F in the bass. I've never thought about that. Are you playing the open high?
Yeah.
This is like going off on a whole nother
yeah,
tangent.
yeah.
Oh,
So
but
it's
yeah.
got the E on top,
Yeah.
so you get that thing.
Yeah.
Which is a little out of tune, but it's fine.
It's a scratch. We're good.
It's a gretsch. It's fine.
Yeah, that's funny. Seems funny. I'm like, that sounds really
It's like whoa,
what a cool sounding C chord.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next question, and we're gonna go through all this stuff, and I'll link all the exact pedals, amps, everything down below. But your opinion right now of the board, is this like, are you taking this on the road, or is this like, okay, this is like studio?
I mean, if I bought all this stuff, I would take it out on the road because
Yeah.
I buy stuff with the intention of using it. Like these are all just
Yeah.
tools, and it doesn't matter how expensive it is or inexpensive it is. If it's the tool that I chose for a job, I'm going to take it out and use it on that job.
Nice.
So yeah, I would take this out for sure.
Okay. Well, why don't we? Because we've hit some of the mod stuff, and we'll get into it. Do you want to start? Just kind of work our way.
Yeah, we'll start with the fuzz.
Fuzz?
You're going to have to run the fuzz because I'm
Hey,
incapacitated.
this is the
Yeah, run it with your.
with my hand.
Yeah.
Let's get more.
So I guess this thing is like, you can probably, it looks like you can change the Q settings and the.
Yeah. So that's just wah. It's funny. It's like a Morley wah.
Yeah.
You can't set it. You can't set it and forget it. Oh, okay.
That's cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool for like the sort of half-cocked wah thing where you could like, oh, it's spring-loaded.
No, that's what I'm
too.
saying. Yeah,
Whoa.
that's why I couldn't let go of it.
Oh, so it's not, you can't really do the half-cocked wah thing.
No, I mean, I guess you could if you want to keep your that's why it's like a Morley. Have you ever used like a bad
Interesting.
horsey or something? So
So is part of what we're trying to do here is describe like, is find out, are these worth the price too, or?
Kind of. So these are the kind of the top of the top, but is it like necessarily what we would put here? Like if you have a lesser expensive, I personally, I don't like whenever the wall, it drove me crazy about Morley was the fact that it would kick back. I'm like, oh, I can't set the wah how I want it.
Yeah, because the thing I like to do with a wah is do that half-cocked wah kind of thing where you just put it on, you find that like spot in the EQ curve where you want it, and then you just leave it there. And this doesn't seem to be able to do that because it's like a gas pedal.
I wonder if it's, no. I was gonna say, is there a way to latch it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But the other thing too is like, I don't know that I would want a fuzz and wah together. I know there's cool examples of that from, but I don't know. I like having the two separate, but I'm not really a wah guy all that much.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
I'd probably skip that. And I would go with something just like a traditional Crybaby.
Crybaby?
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the, Friedman had a cool, the Golden 70, whatever it's called.
Yeah,
like I like that. It was like super like throaty sounding, but it's off, isn't it? Yeah. Oh wait. No, it's on.
Wait,
How do I turn it off?
how do you turn it off?
Do I hold it? I guess it's just off.
Oh yeah.
The foot's back.
Cool.
Okay. Anyways, cool pedal. Maybe not the one that we necessarily want.
Right.
So
Yep.
then plasma coil.
These are cool.
Which I'm not familiar with.
So technically this is like a distortion, but it's really more of a fuzz than.
Yeah, it was listed as distortion, but I'm like, but is it?
Yeah, it's pretty.
It's so fuzzy. Latching? Like these? It's like presets.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not really sure what that's doing. Oh, it's a chaos.
Oh, you gotta hold it. Okay.
Yeah, that's sick.
Okay.
All right.
All right, there you go.
Woo! That's rad.
That's crazy.
See how it tracks intervals? Like if I go. Now, yeah.
I hope that's just clipping the
That's
audio like
sick.
crazy. That's what it sounds like in here.
In the video, you may not be able to see it, but there's
Yeah.
the actual, like, I forget what they call that tube. There's a name for it. But it is actually sending the guitar signal voltage through that tube and using it to
man.
clip that and distort it. So that's not just for show. That's actually like...
Oh, really? I thought this was for show.
Yeah, it's a riff. It's a riff
That's
machine.
so nasty.
What's cool is too they do a rack mount version that
Of this?
Yes, and it's the whole coil. And I did a record a year and a half ago where they used it on the snare drum. So they split the snare drum signal and ran it through the plasma coil and distorted the snare, and then they would tuck that in underneath the snare track, and it made the snare sound huge.
Oh man.
It was awesome. Yeah, that's sick.
That's cool. Okay.
How much is that?
I don't have my phone. I think it's in the threes. It's not cheap, but it is.
I
might wanna leave with
I
one
think
of
I'm
those.
gonna buy that.
Yeah, I think I want to buy this one right
That's
now.
sick.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's like it's cool because it does sort of your traditional kind of distortion fuzz sort of sounds. It can be relatively tame for a fuzz, but you can turn the voltage down. What is it? Oh, $299. Okay.
$299.
Yeah. So for $300, I love fuzz. I have a bunch of fuzzes, but I don't have anything that does.
No, this is cool. Isn't it?
That's sick. That's so
Okay,
cool.
I gotta try that one.
Yeah, dude.
We'll go strat mode on him. It's riffs.
It's a riff machine.
Riff machine.
That's
That's
so cool.
incredible. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Are we making a pact? We're leaving with
And it's
one of those.
Revival Drive Compact.
Yes.
This is really great. I have the big version as well, and
Okay.
this actually made it on the small version made it on my travel board earlier this year because this is basically they designed it to be like a preamp, like a true amp in a box type thing, and I think they did a pretty good job of it. It's got some cool features like EQ control, so you can actually run it as a preamp into a cab sim.
Yeah.
So you could do like a DI kind of situation. But the thing I like about it is if you're a player who is using a lot of backline amps, like if you're on gigs where you don't necessarily know what amp you're going to be running into, like on a festival situation or whatever,
Right.
this is so shapeable that you can make it fit well in front of
Whatever you want.
anything that you're
Okay.
doing in any gain level. So
I hadn't used them. I remember when it came out.
yeah,
But
and it's got one thing I wish more overdrives had is a clean blend, because
Oh, yeah.
you can blend in the amount of gain. So if we start like full on, this is generally how I run mine. So
so this is how you have it set.
generally like something like this. Now that's a lot of gain. That's more gain than I typically want from an overdrive. So what I'll do is actually, that's full overdrive, that's fully wet.
Okay.
So I'll bring it back to like here. And now it's a little less gainy because we're blending in some of the clean guitar sound. So you can get more articulation. And you've got this overall like EQ control down here on the bottom. And then the presence control does two different things depending on if it's like going left of center or right of center. So you can. Then you've got a low end control here as well, so you can go fully wet.
Yeah.
That's 50-50.
I think I liked it better when it was
Like up here.
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
like 2 o'clock. Is there any particular amp that this doesn't work well with, or
No.
is it just kind of like across the board?
Yeah, it's across the board, which is what I like about it. Because again, like it'll work with Deluxe, Marshall, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, yeah.
That is good. Okay.
So H90, I'll be honest, I've never played one. I had an H9 for a while, and I sold it because I didn't like the fact that I always had to like use my phone to work with stuff.
Well, and there's like the interface on the thing was like non-existent.
Which this seems to have fixed that. Like you can actually work with stuff. Now I don't know how because I've never used it, and there's a lot happening here.
But the fact that you were like, this is before the camera's even rolling, like you were just like it was making you play.
Right. So I pulled up this kind of sound, and then I added. We're not on the reverb yet, but I was doing this kind of thing. So like
That stuff's just inspiring.
it's cool, right? Like you can do a whole lot of stuff with it. So, but I don't know how to get through the presets. Oh, here you go. So
This is just like a nerdy kind of like side question, but do you like the latching buttons or soft switches better?
I think it depends on the
pedal?
Pedal. Like this, definitely I want like a soft switch. It just makes sense for a for a thing like this.
Does it ever bother you? I can't feel it through my shoe. So then I'm like, I like feeling the pop of the pedal.
No, but for like an overdrive, generally I like a nice
latch.
Yeah, a nice latch.
Yeah.
That's a really nice chorus though. Then we do like kind of a big, let's see, reverb here. But the H90 is like, it's kind of everything. Like the algorithms you can put in this are ridiculous.
I wonder, can you only, and I don't know a lot about the H90, can you only use one at a time though? Like in the H9? I wonder, because I mean that was why people would have 3 H9s on their board.
Yeah. All I know is this is called Alien Verb.
And all I know is I like it. You played this earlier, weren't you?
You turn the mix all the way up.
And you have the Empress off now.
Yeah, this is just the
this
H90.
is just H90.
I mean, it's cool. The downside of something like this, though, is if you're not like someone who likes to tweak sounds and really dig into menus and all that kind of stuff, this pedal is really overwhelming.
Yeah, I ended up getting rid of my H9 for this exact same reason that you got rid of yours. And originally I liked the app. I'm like, oh, this is cool because you have so much control over it. And then when I didn't have my phone on me or something, I'm like, oh, this I can't do it. But
there you go. Trim verb, yeah. That's cool. This is one though where you definitely have to study the manual.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Which is not what we've done
No.
right now.
Absolutely not. No. Okay, and then the Space Echo, the 202. I'm pretty familiar.
Yeah.
Pretty familiar with this one. Like I said, it's a 201, RE201 in a box, basically. So, you know, we were doing the.
I love that you immediately just dialed that thing. You're like, this is what I'm gonna play.
But it's cool because you can use the reverb or without the reverb. And on a traditional 201, this side of the Space Echo is just delay repeats, and then anytime you have that little bracket around, that's with the reverb added.
Okay.
But with the pedal, you can add reverb to anything, which is kind of a nice touch. So one thing I really like doing with it is just a really good slap, right? Like a,
Yeah.
and then adding reverb onto it, like.
Oh, that's cool.
And I mean, you can go crazy with the reverb too.
Can you change? Is it like reverb into delay or delay
No,
into
so
reverb?
in the,
or?
I'm not sure how the signal flow goes in the real 201, but I think it's supposed to be similar to that. So
Yeah.
it's basic. There's a spring tank in the bottom of the Space Echo.
Okay.
And then you can add saturation, and then you can simulate. They've got the tape age in here, so you can go with a darker, more worn out tape. So there's like lo-fi beats to study to
Yeah.
all day kind of sound like that.
No, it sounds cool.
It's cool, right? So I use that one a lot. This is, and it's got a ton of presets in memory. The other cool thing about this is the input you can switch from instrument level, guitar, to line level. So if you're mixing
so you
with
don't,
it,
it's not just a guitar.
yeah, you can
okay.
mix with it too, which is really, like, sending drums through that is really cool. Or if you're just using like a drum loop or something that you got off Splice, you can bust it out through this, and it's stereo in and out, which the real one's not. The real one's mono.
Yeah.
So you can do stereo, and it's killer.
So then I guess the question is on these, because I don't need to play that one. What ones would you keep on this board? You're like, okay, it's worth the money, or which ones are you like, well, I would end up replacing that with
If
something
I
else.
was building this board for me,
Yeah.
I would obviously keep the plasma coil because that's sick.
and add 3 more of them.
Yeah. I would probably keep the revival drive as well.
Yeah, I was thinking that's a solid one.
I have it, and I put it on my board that I traveled with
Right.
and toured with this year. The H90, I really like it, but for the type of music that I play live, it's just way overkill.
So it's like a studio
This would be a
situation.
studio tool for me
Yeah,
primarily,
not
and it probably wouldn't even live on a board. I'd have it patched into my rack, and I
Yeah.
would just like use it as an outboard effect. The 202 also lives on my board, so it earns a spot.
Both those. And Empress. What do you use for reverb?
I kind of, man, for years I used a Big Sky. I still have it. I still use it. But more recently, like, I've gotten away from using reverb live because
Kind of in a reverb.
yeah, it's like
situation.
in a lot of cases I found that it just makes me sound worse, like muddy.
Don't
'Cause,
listen to him, reverbaholics like me. Reverb only.
I mean,
makes stuff
unless it's
better.
something like a spring sound,
Right.
which the 202 does. So I just use that. Or if I'm doing something that's a very, very specific kind of effect, like the sparkle, for example, in the Empress.
Yeah.
Like, that's cool. But a lot of the room and the hall settings and stuff, which I used to use a lot, you don't need to. If you're playing in a club,
You're in a room.
you're in a room. And then you don't need to add room reverb on top of it.
Right.
You know. So I have this pedal, and it will make it on my board if I know that I want to use it for something like do the reverse algorithm on here. You just bring the mix all the way up,
Yeah.
and then bring the decay up. Set your EQ, and now you've got this like.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds super good.
Like, that's rad.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, it just fills the entire room.
And then if you wanted to get real funky, you could do like so bring the delay in and let it start to oscillate. And then You start to get into like weird,
We need to
spacey.
do that with
Oh yeah.
that at the same time.
So if we do like a. It's so musical.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which one was like the really good one?
Like that's just the plasma coil, the space echo, and the reverb. That's not the H90.
Yeah.
Which is known for like a lot of crazy algorithms. Like that's just a reverb and a tape echo with the plasma coil.
With the plasma coil.
So really, I mean, I could probably even just get rid of everything else and just do those three. And I'd be happy.
Just, and we already said kind of like,
Yeah, it's,
Wah could probably go
I don't know
for you.
if that one's for me, but
Yeah.
yeah.
awesome. Well, I think, so overall verdict, they're all good.
They're all good. Do you need the best, most expensive of everything? No.
Nah.
This is unique. This is like, if you want what this does, I don't know of anything else that does what it does.
No, this was a win, like I think just for us
Yeah,
to hear it,
100%.
and we're like, okay.
That's rad.
Yeah.
Overdrive, I mean, there's a billion overdrives out there.
Right.
The Rival Drive Compact is great, but do you need that? Not necessarily.
Yeah.
The H90 is great for what it does, but I think most guitar players don't need something that's that
Probably
in-depth.
overkill.
Unless you're doing like sound design stuff, or you're mixing, or you're writing and producing a lot of music where you're going to use that for more than just guitar stuff.
Right.
Sure. But for most guitar players, you could probably skip it. The 202 is great. I would say if you are looking for just like a great sort of tape echo delay pedal, get the smaller one. They make a normal Boss size pedal one that's a little bit less expensive.
Oh, okay.
And it doesn't have all of the features, but it has like 90% of the features of the big one.
Right.
So go with that. And then the Empress reverb is fantastic, but again, unless you're looking for those really high quality, interesting algorithms that do what it does, then there's a million different reverb options out
Yeah.
there.
So it seems like a lot of it is potentially overkill
I think so.
for what you need.
Except the plasma coil.
Except that one, you want it to be overkill.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. If there's a winner of this whole thing,
Yeah, that's sick.
it's a plasma coil. All right. There's your guys' nerdy guitar tone pedal board video, whatever you want to call it. So thanks for doing the video with me, man.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Later, guys. Is it Don approved?
Yeah, dude. Freaking crazy.